G'day, welcome back to Project Brupeg, story of a sunken fishing trawler converting into a global expedition and research boat. This week we had a bit of an IT dilemma. Our NAS exploded, so we had to spend a fair bit of time providing CPR to make sure that we have some file storage, and we built this.
We normally do 2 episodes a week, 2 full-time episodes a week, and that's quite a big workload, and we were thinking we'd go down to a short episode and stick with 1 long episode a week. And the feedback's been great. People have really enjoyed the different pace and the size and all of that, but we really missed the 2 episodes, and there's so much to edit weekly, the amount of work we get through a week. I'm going to have to go back to 2 episodes, but I'm going to try and do a shorter one and a longer one. So thanks for all your feedback, guys. As you will have noticed, there's a lot of work on. We've got multiple jobs happening in different areas of the boat, and Dame's head's about to explode with coordinating what he's got to coordinate, and me keeping it all synchronised and on track. And of course, with new crew coming on board, we have to be organised for that. So bear with us, it's lots of chopping and changing, but the next episode is back on the stabilisers, and we're ramping up back into stabilised work for the next few episodes, so I hope you enjoy it.
This morning's job on Brupeg is basically getting our storage for all of our files sorted. We had a bit of a crash on one of our NAS drives, our main storage systems. So we have 2 on Brupeg. So this one here is a homemade one, but it's a beast of a machine. It was built by Peter Hine. It's really fast, but it doesn't have a huge amount of capacity. It's only running 2 terabyte drives. But that's actually all we need for this one. This is our primary storage, but it's very fast storage, which is awesome. And it's set up as RAID 5. And we've had a drive die, and we know that another one's on its way out. So we have to jump in and actually solve this. This little QNAP here is a much older unit, but it's a really reliable unit. It's slow, but it's really reliable. We use this as our backup unit for the first. So everything goes in here first, and then it's duplicated across to this guy. And this was donated by Scott, one of our Patreons. He's been an awesome help when it comes to setting up networks and helping with physical hardware on the boat and what do we do and where do we put it and all that sort of stuff. And it's great to be able to bounce ideas off him. I really appreciate it. It makes an enormous difference. I'm not that tech savvy, and having guys like Scott contribute to the project just makes a huge difference, because I know that I'm going to get a really reliable system, and it's something that we need to be reliable given the type of work that we do on Brupeg with all of our filming and our footage needs and so on. This one has brand new drives in it that are 3 terabyte drives and really good quality drives. What we're going to do, we've changed how we're going to set up our file storage on Brupeg. So we're going to take the drives from QNAP, we're going to put them in the Ubuntu Linux box up here. So we'll have 4 good drives in a fast machine, so it's got a good processor and RAM and everything else that's needed to actually get some good speed happening with this. And then this one will become redundant. We won't be using this one. We're going to be running external drives that will be our backup. So it won't be a NAS system, it'll be a single drive, but it'll be duplicated across 2 different places. So we'll still have multiple copies of the files. And the other thing we're going to be doing is, over time, we're going to be swapping the platter disks for solid state. So we don't need to maintain massive size, so we don't need to have like 4 or 5, 6, whatever terabyte solid states. 2 to 3 terabyte solid state drives, and this is fine. We do need 4 of them. We have got a solid state 256 gig drive that we're going to be mounting in this as a 5th drive, but that's only going to be for the operating system. So we want to keep it off the main storage drives. So the plan is basically to have this as our main bulk storage. It's going to be fast, it's going to be capable of going to sea because it has solid state drives, and then we're going to be retiring the QNAP and running platter disks that will only turn on and off for a short amount of time, duplicate any new files or any deleted files will get updated across onto the platter disk, and then it'll turn off. So it's not spinning for very long, but it's also generally not spinning for sort of 23 hours a day type thing. It'll only come on for an hour, do its updates, and then shut down again. It'll all be timed, and it'll all be scripted, so we don't have to do anything. It'll happen in the middle of the night, that sort of thing. So this morning's job, pull drives out of this, put them into here, and let the RAID 5 rebuild 1 drive at a time, and then we're going to start writing our scripts to do our backups. This here is inside our NAS. So these are our 4 storage drives. One of them's dead. I don't know which one yet. I've got to look at the serial numbers. I know the serial number, just don't know the drive. So I'll figure out which one's dead, and then we'll mount a new drive in, but at the same time I'll get some advice on to where we're going to put this SSD for the operating system. Looks like we've got a bit more space. We could probably put more drives in here, I'm guessing, but as I say, I'm not IT literate, so that could be entirely garbage. There's also, you can see over the back here, this is the circuit board and everything. It's quite a lot of stuff going on there. I'm not going to pretend remotely to know what I'm talking about. Power control, power supply box. Yeah, inside a computer. Awesome. Start ripping it apart. So the original plan was to rebuild one drive at a time using the RAID 5 system to allow it to build the data onto the new drive. But because we've got backup data and we've got the 4 drives able to be swapped out straight away, we're just going to put all 4 new drives into the machine, rebuild the array overnight, and then we'll use the backup data to push the data across onto the NAS. So we're having some dramas. It's looking like we're going to have to rip more of the tower apart. So it looks like something is going on with the motherboard. So we're pulling the motherboard out now to try and isolate it to make sure that nothing's shorting out and causing crazy stuff there. Basically, it's not booting up. So it's got an SSD in this for the operating system. Everything is disconnected and we can't even get it to get to like a BIOS screen on the monitor over there. So we're starting to go a bit more fundamental and pull bits apart. And I'm not IT savvy, so everything I just said, I don't even know what I'm talking about. But Madison, one of our patrons, is like a bloody genius at this stuff, and she's guiding me how to do this from Canada. It's the middle of the night where she is, and yeah, we currently have a computer in pieces and I don't know what I'm doing, so this is going to be awesome. So it's amazing to have her support. So oh my god, thank you so much, Madison.
Oh, hi. How you doing?
Sorry, I just... So, okay, so are we better off then to... Oh, I'm really nervous about going down in performance level, though.
Yeah, I get that. And this is where I'm being torn. Like, the amount of money you would put into a homebrew system, you'll get a lot more performance and a lot more flexibility, but you carry a lot more of the weight.
Yeah, righto. So we have the motherboard basically in pieces. We've only got the power supply hooked up and the screen. So we're using it to essentially, and we've actually what we have found, the RAM. It's got a 16 gig RAM card in this, and we moved it from slot 1 across to slot 4. And for some reason in slot 1 it wasn't firing up, in slot 4 it is. So we've been able to get it going. Let me show you what we've got. So we start it up, fan starts spinning. And then over here, ASUS, some stuff, nothing's connected. And then it comes up with this, which is amazing. We've never had it at this point. So we're gonna shut it back down and start reinstalling everything back into this. It's mounted back up the most basic way I can. Just gonna turn it on. Whoop, whoop. It's working. So it should show me exactly the same screen that we had before. Yes. Lovely, it comes up with that one. And now the details. Oh yeah. All right, cool. So SATA, nothing's plugged in. So let's go and get some stuff plugged into it. I've now plugged in the fan at the front and the SSD that has the operating system. So see if it fires up this time. Still a good sign. Still a good sign. It should go into Ubuntu rather than that BIOS screen, I think. It's definitely different. Hey, that's new. Hey, that's a positive sign.
We've cleared the office, what's to be the office out.
Yeah.
It's just laid the carpet.
So, yeah, carpet's in. Next plan is get the benches in shortly. We've just got to get them epoxied and everything. It's taken a long time. We spent the whole day on IT storage. They just exploded and we had to resolve that. So that was an interesting experience. I've never really pulled a computer apart. I've always been scared of them, and I literally pulled every component of the computer apart today, the storage NAS, to like figure out what is breaking.
Yeah. It's good to know what's inside them though.
It is. I got my head around it now.
It's
so,
great.
Yeah, it's cool. I don't feel so frightened of them now.
And it's working, eh?
It's working awesome, actually. Yeah, it's got an email from it saying that the RAID array is basically logged back on and something's happening. So
thanks to the lovely Madison.
Yeah, God, yeah. Madison's one of our long-term Patreons, and she's an absolute genius when it comes to like enterprise level storage, and she's the one that's helping us build and design the actual NAS itself, and Scott's another patron of ours that's helping us design the network that sort of sits around it. So between the two of them, there's two different parts they work on.
Yeah, they're so clever, eh?
Yeah, it's amazing. And both of them are incredibly talented at their areas, you know, like they're really brilliant at what they do. So it's kind of amazing to have that level of knowledge come into the boat.
Yeah, and that's what this boat will be. It will be a quite a techie boat. We need it to be that way for the kind of projects we want to do and the episodes we want to put out. So.
Yeah. And thanks to Peter Hine, who
Yeah.
just off his own bat but built a NAS for us, and we didn't really understand the implications of it, but he's built an absolute rocket ship, and that's what we were working on today. And Madison, who really knows their stuff, was sort of commenting, you know, little snippets all the way through. Man, whoever built this knows what they're doing. Like, they've put together some great products and stuff, and that, you know, like just all these little lines. Like, it just really came home to me what he did for us, and it was, I didn't realise it at the time, but I've realised it.
And he was so humble, he didn't tell us.
We've had some progress on the NAS, so everything is rebuilt. It started, we found the problem. It was one of the little RAM connectors was giving jip, don't know why. We moved the RAM over to slot number 4 and it fired up perfect. So everything's back up and running. We've got 4 new drives in there, the SSD's in there with its main operating system and everything. And we've got our data off the portable USB drives up the top here transferring across. So it's probably about 12 hours worth of data transfer to get this across, but we should have a functioning storage NAS probably by tomorrow. Here is a slab of dried apricots that's been vacuum packed, and then I've just unpacked it and it comes out pretty much like a log of apricots. We try random things like this on the boat so that we can figure out what's going to be a real pain in the ass when we're away on expedition that we don't know about already, so we try and make food that we were going to use on expedition, store food, all that sort of stuff, hence the storage downstairs, and also the log of apricots to sort of see if it's going to work. Our ideas around vacuum packing and that sort of thing. It's a really foggy old morning. We're about to start putting Jess's desk in. Hey, looky who just turned up. Hello. We've got inside work this morning. Yeah, funny that. Alright, it's 480. Okay, you happy with that?
Yeah, cool.
Cool. Alright, so what we're doing in here, guys, this is our new editing studio. We've gutted the room out and we're setting up our desks and everything for the workspace. Now, what we have to think about is internal insulation and wall panels. So, in order to fit this desk in, we don't want to have to be building ourselves into a bit of a quagmire later on down the road. So, each of these steel ribs needs to have a board bolted to it. There you go. That's the thickness of the insulation, right?
Right.
Out like that. So follow that line all the way down. But then you've also got 120mm here. So follow that line down, and wherever they intersect, there's going to be a line that goes all the way down the side of the cabin.
Righto.
So it's a bit convoluted, and I don't know how to solve that yet. But I also know that it doesn't matter if we make this 120mm all the way down. It can tuck up under here, and it's irrelevant. There'll be another 120 board coming down here that'll join up, that we'll deal with later.
Yeah.
But for now we just have to do that bit, and we're not going to run into any trouble if we just make it too high.
What's the length of those? What's the length of the longest one? Which is the next one?
You go a metre. A metre on both would work fine.
Yeah.
Right, so that's your rib structure. The board that we have to create is going to look like something like this. It's going to have a slight curve on the inside to match the hull.
Yeah.
It's going to come out like so. That's going to be a metre.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be basically straight. I want to keep that straight because that keeps the interior panel simple.
Oh, yeah.
We have to have weird
Yeah.
twists and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
We just keep us. So I'm not too stressed if I have to bash the insulation around a wee bit. Actually, if we make the minimum distance 120.
We're going to bolt these on.
Yeah.
Well, this probably doesn't have to be that neat a fit, so it
No.
can be nearly straight as well.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. Because remember, you've got 2 layers of insulation, 120mm, and then you've got a board hard up against it. So the board is determined by the hull, and these have to be superfluous to the board.
Getting this angle,
Right.
we can cut it square and a bit bigger,
Yep.
and then just go and set this angle on the
Yeah, and trim the angle off.
saw and just.
Okay. So what we need to do is figure out the angle difference between each of these ribs. So the ribs are 90 degrees to the center line of the boat, but as the boat starts curving in towards the bow, that 90 degrees starts getting further and further away from square on the hull plating itself. And when we start, so we have to start thinking now about, okay, how do we do the interior panels, the insulation, all that sort of stuff. So when we're building these pieces of wood, so every rib has a piece of wood bolted to it, epoxy wood that gets bolted onto it, and then the interior panels get fastened to those wooden beams. So what we have to do is basically bolt the wooden beam onto the steel rib, and then cut the end of the wooden beam so that it's parallel with the hull, not square or anything with the rib itself. And as the boat gets further and further around towards the bow, that angle that we have to cut is going to change. So I made an assumption thinking that it's probably not going to be too far apart. The angle difference between these probably isn't going to be too far apart, but it likely will be, and it's going to get every rib as individual. And we're going to have to adjust the saw blade for every single rib to make sure that it's right, until we get down to the back end of the boat where it's pretty much parallel. Okay, so I want to go a metre. Same way, yep. We'll take it up and we can just mark the notch, the same posi.
Hello. Good morning. Morning.
So the plan is, this is a basic shape that we need to cut out. So it's you sort of see the angle is the same at both ends. And then we need to figure out where the rib's going. So the rib will be a notch in here like that, somewhere like that. We just don't know exactly where yet. Trev's upstairs measuring. We'll come back and we'll notch it out. So we're going to use a big drill blade, wood drill blade. We'll run wherever it needs to go, circle down, at some point to get the leading edge, and then we'll just notch out the straights with the saw. What do you make it?
450 underneath.
450. And then the same angle. So that's the bottom of the 6mm rib there?
Yeah.
Alright, we'll use that as our centre line.
That may be tight. That's the bottom. And it goes in 80mm.
Okay. Alright, so let's just put a line up. What it's going to be. That gets mounted up on the boat like that, right? And the hull goes off on an angle like that, so I have to drill through on an angle. Right, that's now roughly the same angle as the hull-ish. See what I mean? So you bolt that on, then the hull goes off on an angle like that.
Right.
That's roughly the same angle. That should theoretically fit. Should we go and check it?
Yeah, and we'll take this to measure this other angle here.
Yes, great. All right, cool. Is it very far off?
Very far off way.
Perfect.
Well, it must be perfect, otherwise
Why would we do it?
yeah, we wouldn't have done it any other way. That's acceptable, isn't it?
Yeah, I reckon we leave that like that actually, because I'm just thinking that straight edge is kind of an easy thing to, when we go to do the insulation and everything, it makes it easy. Like, sorry, the interior panels. So if we set the saw at 108, we'll be right for those two. I was thinking, in an ideal world, we'd have to do 3, because we need to do one at the far end. Oh, hang on, no, that won't work. No, it won't work. Because there's 120 mils on that far wall as well, of insulation. And so I need to do wood panelling at some point so that I can fasten the wall to it.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking I need to figure it. Ideally that needs to come out like 150 mil or something.
That's an internal wall, isn't it?
That's the anchor locker.
Yeah.
But it's basically external temperature, so it has to be as insulated as everywhere else.
Right. We're basically going to be doing this insulation today, aren't we?
We can do.
Just about.
Well, actually no, because I have to pull all the shit out to sandblast in here.
Oh shit.
So it's only putting what I need to put the desk in. When we do the kitchen, we've got to sandblast this room.
Alright. So we need 3 of these so that you can mount the...
2 of them will be enough to mount the desk. In fact, 1 of them's enough to mount the desk. So those brackets over there on the floor, if I put 1 against that wall there, 2 against the back wall, and 1 here, that's enough to mount the bench.
It is.
1 in each corner, basically. So we only have to make 1 of these boards, when I think about it. Yeah, so let's just make 1 board. Because the goal is to get the desk in. And the less stuff we have in here, the less shit I have to pull out when we go and sandblast the floor.
Right. So this hole here,
Yeah.
they can be drilled straight in,
Yeah.
can't they?
Yeah.
Drill some holes. You gonna bolt it?
Yeah.
It's been a heck of a job making these things, making this boat.
There's so much work in them, eh, when you look at what it takes.
Yeah, to get that angle.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you put them right angles?
Yeah. I suppose it's easier to just stack them all up along this, because you built the spine of the boat first, so you got the keel straight and then you stack them all up, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. So we're up to framing this out. What we need to do is go through and drill and tap various bits of steel around the boat so that we can bolt in brackets and pieces of wood and things like that. So we use our regular trick of putting the drilling the hole the size that we need, and then putting the tap in the drill, bit of oil on it, and then forward back on the drill, and you can tap it using the drill, because then you get a really nice straight thread. Makes it really easy and a lot faster than trying to do it by hand. So we've got quite a few of these to belt out. We'll get stuck in.
I was never the one to write up a song with just anyone. I was always the one to find myself lost in conversations. Cause I've always been told that things will unfold if you keep on waiting. But then you came along and proved me all wrong. I was so mistaken.
Trying to do a vacuum.
Yeah.
You take all my wrongs and make them better.
So we just need to figure out where this guy's going to go, haven't we? Lovely.
I was never the one to give up the ghost. No, I was so stuck. I kept on playing my part, wanting to give up cause nothing was changing. But with you it's so clear, and now that you're here I see colors in every spectrum. Guess I finally learned my lesson. Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you
I gave up on being gentle on that epoxy. I started using 120 grit and it was just taking forever, blocking up all the time. So I thought, oh, I'll go a little bit more, and I went down to 100, same sort of deal. Went to 80, started to get quite a bit better. I'm going to go to 60 and rip it off, because I need to get quite a bit off to get the colour even, because when I painted it the first 2 times, there was a little bit that I'd obviously sanded a wee bit more, and it was lighter than the rest of the wood, so I need to go through and basically nuke that so that I end up with a uniform colour right across that desk. So sanding wise, the desk over the back is just about ready to start putting epoxy on. This is the wood before, so I've given it a very, very light skim, but it's coming out quite nice. Like, I'm, happy enough with it for what it is. However, there were some light wood, dark wood patches, and it's because we were going through and we'd sanded some areas a little bit harder than others. We didn't realise it showed up so much when we put the epoxy on. So we've gone through. I'm being very strategic where I'm showing you on this, by the way, for a reason. You'll see later. We've gone through and given it a skim with 60, and then we're now down to 120. So it's getting cleaner and cleaner, and I'm going to give it a buzz with 240. So it's coming up really nice. The grain's looking really pretty, and all of the high-low spots are starting to disappear. You can see one here. See how you've got a little bit of a dark spot here, and then you've got light wood sort of around it. That's epoxy resin, and this is wood that was slightly higher, so that's a very, very slight low spot, but it's perfectly flat. Imagine that's like filler basically. It's perfectly flat right now, but you've got that slight dimple. So that will show up when we do the top coat. I'm not going to go down and be pedantic enough to go down further than that, because I'm going to have to start really skimming into this wood to get it to be cleaned up. But yeah, remember, functionality over looks on this boat, but I reckon that's coming up pretty nice.
And I think to myself, and I'm thinking out loud, we won't need nothing else for the rest of our time. And I know it so well, I will always be by your side. 'Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me want.
This is quite cool. You can really see the end grain soaking up the resin. So if you look along there, see how there's all those funny sort of marks. Each one of those is basically the end grain, and it's soaking up the resin as it goes sort of into the cellulose fibre. So let me show you over the back here. So where are we? That one right there. You sort of see where it comes up and it goes sort of white, that piece of grain. And if you come down there, you can see that that's where that real, you know, full-on shape is in the resin. That's basically the structure of the wood. So you can think of wood like a whole collection of drinking straws stacked together, and resin is able to slide up and down along the grain, basically along the straws, if that makes sense. So that's why it's disappearing on those end grains when it's sort of halfway dry. Do you want to have a look at your new studio?
It looks amazing. It looks amazing. I've been banned from looking too closely at the desk that Dane's been building. So, and I know it's something to do with mesh. It looks amazing. Oh, what space there is.
Yeah, it's cool, eh?
Yeah.
So that amount of space that's down there allows you to recline fully in your lazy boy and not hit anything.
And one must have a lazy boy on a expedition boat.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's under here.
Move it forward.
Oh my god, it's so cute.
So that's sunken perfectly
Smooth.
smooth.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Stainers?
No, that's polished aluminium,
Right.
routed into the bench and then resined over, so it's perfectly smooth.
Oh, that's so really sweet. Oh. The awesomeness that is medicine. Had a conversation with Dave and came up with the idea of building shelves into the back here, and you put a little fiddle on. A fiddle's kind of like if this is the shelf, this is the fiddle, and you can put things in and it won't, you know, as the boat's moving, it won't come out. Doing that right along the back, which is why Dame's made it so deep. So brilliant use of storage. And of course, if you turn around this way, we're going to have desks along. We're probably going to have a wee bit of shelving here, and then we'll have a desk here on the corner. And that'll have another comfy seat, and that'll be for, because we're calling it Jess's studio, but it's really the boat studio. Everyone's going to be using it.
Next episode, you'll see us back on the sliders. You'll see how close we got them to being straight and how good they fit when we start putting them up on the side of the boat.
Oh God, it's so lovely.
You got eyes like summer sky. If you're smart, could kill or die. And now it starts to rain, so let's enjoy it.